The announcement of President Trump's new immigration policy has once again placed America at the center of global debate. According to recent reports, the administration plans to prioritize visas for individuals who meet certain health standards, a move that could effectively deny entry to people classified as obese. The idea, as Trump's team presents it, is simple on the surface but complex in its implications. They argue that the United States should welcome immigrants who are fit, capable, and less likely to burden the country's healthcare system. But behind this apparent logic lies a policy that many are calling discriminatory and unscientific. To understand the roots of this decision, we have to look at the broader philosophy that Trump has consistently promoted throughout his political career. From his first term in office, he emphasized the idea of America first, a vision where national interest outweighs global cooperation. His new policy on health-based immigration seems to be an extension of that same principle. By focusing on the health and fitness of immigrants, Trump aims to ensure that those entering the country contribute economically rather than depend on social services. However, critics argue that this approach ignores the social and humanitarian values that the United States has long stood for. Reports indicate that the policy defines health through a strict set of parameters, including body mass index, medical history, and overall fitness level. In practice, this means that people with a higher BMI or chronic conditions might be denied visas, even if they possess valuable skills or qualifications. The administration justifies this by saying that obesity has become one of the leading causes of preventable diseases in the United States, and that allowing large numbers of unhealthy immigrants would only add pressure to an already strained healthcare system. However, opponents of the policy are raising serious concerns. Human rights advocates say that linking immigration eligibility to body weight is a violation of basic equality. They point out that obesity is not always a matter of choice and is influenced by genetics, environment, and socioeconomic conditions. Denying someone a visa based on their weight, they argue, is not just unfair, but also dangerously close to creating a precedent where physical appearance or medical condition becomes a tool for discrimination. Critics also remind us that America itself faces high obesity rates among its own citizens, and restricting immigrants based on such criteria reflects hypocrisy rather than policy consistency. Another major question emerging from this decision is how it could affect America's global image. The United States has historically portrayed itself as a land of opportunity, where anyone can succeed regardless of their background or physical traits. This new policy, on the other hand, sends a very different message. It suggests that access to the American dream might now depend on meeting certain physical standards. For countries that have long admired the United States for its openness and diversity, this shift could mark a turning point in how America is perceived internationally. Economists are also weighing in on the debate. Some argue that the move could have unintended economic consequences. The United States has traditionally relied on immigrant workers in sectors ranging from technology to agriculture. Imposing strict health requirements could drastically reduce the number of available workers and disrupt industries that depend on migrant labor. Others believe that the policy is a symbolic gesture, aimed more at political supporters than actual reform. It plays into the narrative of strength, discipline, and national pride that Trump has always cultivated among his base. Within the United States, public opinion remains divided. Supporters of Trump's policy see it as a common-sense approach to immigration. They argue that every nation has the right to choose who enters its borders and that prioritizing health is simply a matter of practicality. They point out that many countries already have medical requirements for immigrants, such as tests for infectious diseases, and that America is merely expanding those criteria to include broader measures of well-being. On the other hand, detractors insist that this is not about health at all, but about creating new barriers for those who are already vulnerable. They see it as part of a larger pattern of exclusionary policies designed to appeal to populist sentiments rather than address real problems. Internationally, reactions have been swift and strong. Health experts around the world have condemned the policy as outdated and scientifically flawed. The World Health Organization has repeatedly stated that obesity is a complex health issue and not a simple indicator of productivity or ability. By turning it into a criterion for immigration, Trump's administration risks sending the wrong message about how health should be understood and managed. Several foreign governments have also expressed concern that their citizens could be unfairly targeted, particularly those from regions with higher obesity rates due to dietary or economic factors. Beyond the immediate controversy, there is a deeper question about what this policy says about the direction of global politics. In an era where health crises, pandemics, and lifestyle diseases affect populations everywhere, should nations use health as a measure of worthiness, or should they work together to improve public health for all? Trump's approach represents a shift towards a world where individual countries focus on self-preservation rather than collective progress. It highlights the growing divide between nationalist and globalist visions of the future. As with many of Trump's policies, the true impact will depend on how strictly it is enforced and how long it lasts. Legal challenges are almost certain, and advocacy groups are already preparing to contest it in court. But regardless of whether it stands or falls, this policy has achieved one of its intended effects. It has reignited debate about who deserves the right to move, work, and live freely across borders. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about fairness, health, and human value in a world that is becoming increasingly divided along ideological lines. In the end, this is not just a story about visas or body weight. It is about how nations define worth and belonging in the 21st century. Trump's health-based immigration policy may appear to be about fitness, but at its core, it reflects a broader struggle over identity, responsibility, and the meaning of freedom itself. Whether one supports or opposes it, there is no denying that this move has once again reminded the world that under Trump's leadership, America's policies will continue to challenge conventional boundaries and provoke fierce debate on what kind of world we are building together.